So this is our notebook for DBScan. So DBScan itself is a density-based scanning, and that's what the D and B stand for in the first two alphabets, right? It's kind of like an acronym. There is a specific expansion for scan as well. You guys can look it up. So DB here basically means density-based, right? And it's a density-based clustering algorithm. So when you saw these clusters that I drew out earlier, right, or any of this cluster, right, one thing that you guys can note here is that here there is high packing of data, and that's what I mentioned in the previous explanations as well before the break. When I was trying to explain these groups, I was talking, and when I was trying to explain about CILU score, elbow method, I was talking about packing, right? How close are these points to each other? And that's what defines your cluster, right? So if you see this point, right, there's a lot of overlap, this one, versus if you look at the bigger circle, these points are outer points are a little more scattered, but the points right to the center of this cluster are very tightly packed, very close to each other, sometimes even overlapping on each other, right? That's how your data would look like in real life. And this is what is basically called as packing. This is what is called as neighborhood as well. Because if I consider this point, the points right next to it can be called as its neighborhood. And density, neighborhood, all of these concepts come up when you're talking about packing or how close these points are to each other, right? Now, what does DBScan mean? Like, how does it work? Like, what does it do as an algorithm, right? That's what we're here to talk about. Now, as we kind of looked at, right, we saw that k-means was one of our clustering algorithms. DBScan is another way to achieve the same outcome of clustering your data into various groups, right? But the thing with k-means is that it's susceptible to outliers, is what people say, which means like how you guys, when you guys looked at this, right? When does the algorithm stop in this? Can anyone help me out with that? When does the algorithm stop?
When the difference is negligible.
Right, that's one point when there is convergence. What's the other point? What's the more probable one, right?
I was going to say when all points have been clustered.
Yes, absolutely, Liz. That's correct. So when all points have been put in one cluster or the other, right? So when all points have been assigned one or the other cluster, right? That's when the algorithm stops working. So if I say my k is equals to 3, I'm trying to achieve 3 clusters in my data. Every point you pick in this data set must have either 1, 2, or 3, or 0, 1, 2, whatever the 3 labels are. It has to have one of those 3 labels assigned. That's when k-means will stop, which means, now look at this point over here, okay? It doesn't look like it's close to any of the clusters, typically speaking. Okay, it might be closer to cluster number 2 rather than 1 or 3. But if you actually see, it's still far away from cluster number 2 as well, right? But still, it has to be assigned a specific label for k-means to end, which means k-means will label all the data points in your training data set, and or whatever your data set is that you assign, that you pass through to the model. And it is susceptible to outliers as well, which means it will end up labeling your outliers as well. Instead of identifying and telling them that, hey, these look like outliers, these don't look like they are points which can be associated with any of these clusters. DBScan, that's the difference. It will leave out some points which are far off from the neighborhood, and it will call them as noise, right? It won't assign any label to them, right? That's the difference with DBScan, which means it will give you clearly well-defined clusters. And the rest of the points that it doesn't find any assignment, it will simply say that this is all noise. You should probably throw them out, okay, from your analysis. That's what it's going to say, right? Now, how does it work in the first place? Let's look at a data set. Okay, let's say this is another cluster. Okay, now how does DBScan itself work? So what did you supply in k-means to the model? What is that one parameter that you supply to the model each time?
The clusters.
Yeah, the parameter k, right? The number of clusters. That's what you supply each time, right? You say, hey, I want to see 3 clusters, I want to see 4 clusters, so on and so forth. In DBSCAN, there are 2 parameters that you define. It's not the number of clusters, but what you do is there are 2 parameters called epsilon and I think, let's say, number of neighbors, okay, n, or the number of neighbors. Now, what these 2 parameters define is epsilon is a radius. This is radius, okay, and this is number, or rather this is actually minimum number of points, minimum number of neighbors, minimum neighbors, okay, that's what it is, min neighbors. So these are the 2 values or 2 parameters that you provide to the model every time. And what happens is, let's say we are looking at like epsilon radius, right? So what happens is it will pick a random point. Let's say it will pick this particular point, right? And what it will do is it will draw a circle around this point for a radius of epsilon with a radius of r equals to epsilon, right? Whatever value we have defined. So it will draw a circle around that point with the radius defined by you. And then what it does is within that circle, it checks how many points are there within that circle apart from this central point, right? My point, which I'm considering. So let's say if I define my minimum number of neighbors as 3, okay? Does it have 3 points inside the circle? It has 2, correct? Right, guys? It has 2 points within the circle. So it will say that, okay, it is not a core point. Okay, it has some neighbors, but it is not a core point. Now, so based on these 2 parameters, around every point, I will draw a circle with radius given as epsilon, with a given radius epsilon, and I will check whether it has a minimum number of neighbors that I have defined. And if it has minimum or more than, let's assume that for our case, instead of that point, let's say I picked this point, okay, and then I drew a circle of epsilon around it, okay, circle radius is epsilon. Now I have 3 points inside it. This point will be labeled as core point, okay, which is a core point in my cluster because it is passing both, it is passing my condition. If I draw a circle with radius epsilon around this point, it has at least minimum number of neighbors, which is at least 3 neighbors or more than 3 neighbors. So it is satisfying my conditions. So I will label it as a core point. Every point within the cluster which has 3 or more neighbors, if I draw a circle of radius epsilon around it, if that circle contains 3 or more other points, I will label that point as a core point. Okay, this is core point. Now, what about this other point that we had looked at earlier, which had only 2 neighbors? It still has some points in the neighborhood, but it doesn't have the minimum criteria. It's not satisfying my minimum criteria. But this point is a neighbor of other core points. Understanding that? So I have at least 1 core point. So this point is there, right? Now, if I draw a circle around it, this point earlier, this point had 2 neighbors, correct? That is clear. If I draw a circle of epsilon around that point, it has 2 neighbors inside the circle, correct? So it is not satisfying my condition, but its neighbor, this point, has, if I draw a circle of radius epsilon around it, I have 3 or more neighbors around it. So this is a core point, and this point is a neighbor, one of the neighbors of this core point. So if a point does not have the minimum number of neighbors, but it itself is a neighbor of one of the core points, it will be named as a border point. Okay, this will be my core point in my cluster. This will be the border point of my cluster. Now, what happens to this point, right? Let's say a different point. I will draw a circle of epsilon. There are no neighbors. It is classified as noise. Okay, or it is not even in the vicinity. It has a border point in its neighborhood maybe, but it doesn't have any core points in its neighborhood, or it is not included in the neighborhood of a core point. It's pretty far away. It's not even in the neighborhood of a border point or something like that, right? So that doesn't qualify it, which means this becomes noise. Okay, so this way dbScan has two parameters. One parameter is radius, with which it draws a circle around every point in my data set, right? And checks whether every point has a minimum number of neighbors inside that circle. If it has the minimum number of neighbors in that circle or more number of points in that circle, that point becomes a core point. If it doesn't have minimum number of neighbors, but it itself is a neighbor of a core point, it becomes a border point. If it neither has the minimum number of points nor is a neighbor of a core point, then it becomes noise. Clear, guys? Conditions?
Yeah.
These conditions are listed in the notebook. I know it's probably difficult to grasp all the conditions in one go. Read up about these conditions in the notebook. It'll be easy. It's easy. It's not difficult. Simple set. Two parameters based on which you will keep drawing circles, or you're basically checking the neighborhood or the closeness of points around it, right? For example, right? Let me draw a circle here. All these points, right? These points that are outside of this first circle, they might be marked as noise because it looks like there is a lot of white space around them, right? But all these points in here, right? These points look like core points. These other points look like border points. Makes sense now, guys?
Yeah.
Right? So the
Kind of
more,
makes sense.
yeah, so the more close they are, the more tightly packed they are, the center of the whole cluster, right? Those points will be core points. The more outer points of the cluster, of the density that you observe, those points become the border points or the boundary points. The points farther away from the packing, from the density, which are like having some white space around them, which are like kind of out in the open, those points become your noise. So this is the three different types of labels that you can give. These are not the labels, by the way, these are not the labels, but this is how each point is assigned a specific role by dbScan. And that's how these points are defined to say that, okay, this belongs to a cluster or this doesn't belong to a cluster. Okay, this is how the clusters are grown in a dbScan model. So here, now the difference being, K means you were providing the number of clusters you wanted to see, right? And then you were providing various values of K. You had Silhouette score, you had, the other elbow method, and then you found out the optimal number of clusters. For a dbScan, you are not providing a value of K or the clusters that you're seeing. So the evaluation is not from that point of view. dbScan, when it optimally performs the model, it will give you the optimal number of clusters. But what are you providing here? Radius and neighborhood. These are the two values that you manually have to provide, experiment with, and check what is the optimal number of clusters, where you achieve the optimal number of clusters for the neighborhood and the for the minimum points and the radius of circles that you would like to draw for the neighborhood. Okay, so this is where dbScan basically checks. Okay, this is how dbScan works. So there is a different way of checking for optimal number of clusters. Basically, it's optimal parameters that you provide, right? So I was just reading an interesting article on this. This was mentioned as, this is one of the drawbacks of dbScan, that you have to manually provide the values of epsilon, the radius, and the minimum number of neighbors. And based on that, the model works, right? And obviously, we cannot provide the actual correct values, which will give us a great clustering output, right? We can't get that. So if we have to get that, there is a specific, there are a couple of ways to do it. One such way is they will use a KNN, K nearest neighbors algorithm to achieve information about neighborhood and use that information to arrive at correct values or optimal values of neighborhood and minimum number of neighbors. It's a paper, it's a research paper that's published. It's not a common technique or widely used technique that is used. There are many techniques out there that can be used to arrive at optimal values of your radius and minimum neighbors for the DBSCAN algorithm. But you guys understand how the algorithm works itself?
You just use a loop and cycle through different epsilons and sample like minimum.
Well, you could do that, but you still need a metric, right? So if you remember k-means, right? What did you do over there? What you tried is you supplied various values of k and you checked with Silhouette score. In each iteration, you checked Silhouette score value, or you checked for elbow method, right? The packing value, right? So I think one of those methods can be used here as well for DBSCAN. You could pick pairs of the radius values and min values. That could be one approach that you could take. But how do there could be multiple values. Look, so how do you determine? It could be it is still a good way, but at the same time, there it was only one value. So you iterated from 2 to 10. Here there are two values. So you iterate between a combination, right? So let's say my radius epsilon ranges in values from 1 to 10, right? Units. This is my radius, okay? And then minimum number of neighbors. Let's say I say 2, going all the way up to 10 neighbors, right? Now I have two ranges to iterate from, right? So the complexity of the model or the time that the model takes to run will increase that much more. So how do you do it a little bit more better? This is definitely a method, but how do you shorten this particular thing? You can still do this, maybe use the elbow method to determine what's the packing of my clusters at each stage, and then probably determine. But I also suspect that the way DBSCAN itself works on packing. So you can't use elbow method, which also checks packing. So it'll always give you good scores because the whole mechanism itself works on closely tied up data, right? So it's going to end up giving you good results, or giving you working out things and saying that, okay, this is working, this is not working, right? When it works, it will have good packing and it will obviously give you a good score. So you really may not be able to use elbow method in all cases to check for DBSCAN accuracy. There might be other methods, right? We'll discuss about that in next class because we don't want to, let's not overload in this class. I just want to make sure that you go home with a clear understanding of how DBSCAN itself works. Any questions from anyone?
You said this was the easier one.
It is, isn't it? I mean, k-means is a simpler one. It's the most simplest clustering algorithm. But at the same time, this is not tough, right? Like it's just 2 parameters. So you keep drawing circles around each point like this, right? And then check what's in my neighborhood. If it's there, based on how many points are there, if they are more than my minimum number of points that I set up, it's a core point. If it's not, but it is a neighbor of a core point, it becomes a border point. If there is nothing, it becomes a noise. Simple. 3 different classifications. And based on this methodology, it grows the clusters. And see, this is the exact figure that you have. This is my point, and this is my epsilon, and I say k, right? So I draw a circle around it with the radius k, with epsilon, radius epsilon. And this is the epsilon, the radius. And then there are 3 neighbors, 1, 2, and 3. 3 neighbors. And I will draw circles around them as well, right? So I'll keep drawing circles around each of these points and find out what their status is. So how the algorithm works: choose 2 parameters, positive numbers, epsilon and integer minimum points. Why are they positive? Can anybody tell me?
Well, your minimum points has to be positive.
Yep, absolutely. It can't be negative. And what about epsilon?
Same, it's a radius of the circle.
Yep, it's the radius of the circle. You can't draw a circle with negative radius, right? Circle 0 is basically a point. Circle with 0 radius is basically a point. Beyond that, there is nothing else that you can do. right? So it's either 0 or larger, and 0 doesn't help you because it's a single point, right? So it has to be a positive number. So that's why epsilon and integer minimum points are both positive points. They randomly pick few points from the data set. If there are greater than minimum points with a radius of epsilon from that point, we consider them to be part of the cluster, right? That's the core point. Expand the cluster by checking all of the unchecked new points and seeing if they are greater than min points within the radius, growing the cluster recursively in this manner until you are left with no points. Every point has to be marked by the algorithm either as a core point, border point, or noise. This is not the labeling, by the way. Keep this in mind. There can be 5 clusters, 10 clusters, 20 clusters, 2 clusters, 3 clusters, whatever number of clusters in your data set, right? This is not the label. This is not the end labels that you will get. Your end labels will be, let's say, 5 clusters. The labels will be cluster 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? If you have 3 clusters, your labels will be 0, 1, 2. But every point has to be internally assigned a status by the algorithm. Either the point is a core point, which means it belongs to a cluster, a border point, which means it also belongs to a cluster, but it's on the edge of the cluster. It's on the edge of the density because it doesn't satisfy the minimum number of neighbors condition, right? If it satisfies the minimum number of conditions, minimum number of neighbors condition with the given epsilon value, then it's a core point. If you draw the circle, but it doesn't satisfy the minimum number of points condition, but it is a neighbor of a core point, it is in the neighborhood of a core point, then it becomes a border point. Then outlier or noise. This is a point where neither of the conditions are satisfied. It is neither in the neighborhood of a core point, nor does it have minimum number of points, minimum number of neighbors in the epsilon circle. All right, we'll look at it in the next class again, right? I would like you guys to like read this, read about how it works. Okay, read this entire notebook, go through the code as well. Code is pretty simple. Like this is just an example. And here basically talk about like what happens when these two, it's overlapping, right? It's one class within the other, one group within the other. It's not overlapping as such, but it's one group within the other. But DBScan will still fail to categorize this appropriately into a proper cluster, right? It doesn't perform well because if you guys remember, what did we talk about these type of data sets? They are linearly inseparable data sets. So we do kernel trick for them to convert their dimension into a third dimension. That's when we can separate these two data sets out, these two blue and green points out. We take them to a different plane and then slice in the middle with a different figure. Again, it can be done in classification. If you have a real data set like this without the 0 and 1 label, which means there are no 2 colors, if it has a single color, there is nothing you can do about it. You'll end up clustering and you'll get a result like this. There's nothing you can do about it. Okay.
So you wouldn't have the first plot. You would only have this one, right? If you're using a real data set.
Exactly. If you don't have labels, if you have the first plot, if you have these labels where you know that, hey, these points are green, they belong to a group called 1. These points are blue, they belong to a group called 0. That means it's labeled data. In that case, what you perform is supervised learning. So you would use a SVM or something to use a kernel trick, push them into a third dimension, and then use a hyperplane to cut them and perform a classification algorithm. You wouldn't be performing unsupervised learning or a clustering algorithm on this because you already have labels. It's a supervised learning problem. Make sense?
Yeah, it's already labeled.
Yep. But assuming you don't have the 0 and 1, you don't have 2 colors, you have only 1 color, you'll end up doing this, and this is what the algorithm is going to say, and you have to go by it. Because at that point, you don't know how many groups are there in your data. It looks like one group, right? They all look similar.
Yeah.
Exactly. Awesome. All right. That's it for the class today.